Whenever.
Okay, welcome to our experience. I am your podcast host, Chad Wers, Chief Executive for ASCP. I am without a podcast partner for this event today with our friends from Oklahoma, but I'm joined by Scott Stewart and Garrett Huxall, both of Farm Care USA, and they are the hosts of our South Central Regional Meeting as a pharmacy, which is something new that we've done this year at ASCP, and we're gonna hear from them about their careers and Farm Care USA, and kind of talk through contemporary issues in pharmacy. So, Scott, why don't you start?
Okay.
Let's do the Scott Stewart pharmacist origin story.
Origin story. All right. Well, coming out of school, I was going to work for Target before they were CVS, and Kent Abbott and Jalee, I think it was actually Jalee who grabbed me. Jalee said, "No, you're not. You're not doing that. You're going to work for us." And I had been with Farm Care through college, so I started with Farm Care in 2006. So I'd been doing all the whatever job they could find me doing. It was definitely not always pharmacy, delivering med carts, drugs, setting up grocery stores in Hydro, all the different things that Kent owns. And whenever I started with Farm Care, I started out as a consultant pharmacist. So I started on Jalee's team, and Garrett was one of the consultants there that got to train me through the years. Kind of worked my way back and forth between pharmacy and consulting. I love both settings. I just enjoyed getting to know what made everything work on the pharmacy side, and then brought it out into the field, and that's how Garrett was as well, and we just thought that added a little bit extra to it. And then I kind of moved into the management side of consulting, so I was over the state of Texas only, and from there just kind of kept rising up, and now I'm the national VP of clinical, so I'm over all the nation, including Oklahoma and all the other states.
So give us a little, just a follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is Farm Care USA? Like where is it not?
Oh my gosh,
maybe
yeah.
That's the easier
Yeah,
question.
so that's probably it's becoming the easier question. When we first started out, we were in Oklahoma only. So we had 5 pharmacy locations in the state of Oklahoma. When I was probably graduating pharmacy school around 2009, 10, 11 timeframe, we expanded into New Jersey and into Colorado. And so from there, we are in 20 plus states now. So Ohio, Connecticut, you name it, we're all on that side. We were over in Texas, Arizona, Arkansas, just tons of different places. We got over 23, now 25 or 6 pharmacy locations. And our team of consultants has grown from, I remember we stood around the table, we had, 7 people, 10 people? And now we're, pushing 60 plus and gotten to hire all those. So yeah, where we're not is the big question. I mean, we're already expanding into 3 more states this year. So, but that's kind of the origin story, so to speak.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, Garrett, your pharmacist origin story.
Well, I started with Kent and I started when we started Farm Care in 2000 and got it up and running. And I mostly took care of the consulting in the northeastern part of Oklahoma. And when Scott came on board, it was so nice because we were wanting to change things, and Scott was willing to help we wrote some papers and things like that, and he was willing to help with that. It was just kind of a new breath of fresh air. And I've stayed in the Tulsa area my whole career, so still consulting and still learning a little bit about new things. We've got a new program that has really helped the consultants and kind of pick the patients that are more acute and maybe need more of our attention, or maybe we can make a difference in. And it's been really exciting. I've had a retail store first when I first got out of school, sold it, and then I just really liked long-term care.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about that aspect, because obviously ASCP been around for 55 years. Its origin story is in those community pharmacies that took that innovative step or that entrepreneurial step and started to work with nursing homes and assisted living facilities and really created an industry out of what didn't exist in the late 60s and now is a major part of our healthcare system. But that that I feel like that's amplified when you get to like Texas and Oklahoma, and I don't know if it's sort of the cowboy theme and the feel, but like when I think of Kent Abbott and I think of Julie Abbott, like I think of these like frontiers people that have started this pharmacy and have grown it in a very sort of Western kind of feel. I mean, and that's probably over romanticizing it, but that's what it feels like. I mean, I remember working with Farm Care and doing some consulting and thinking this company like owns a city in Hydro, Oklahoma. Like they have like other businesses associated with the pharmacy that support the employees that work in the pharmacy, and I was like amazed by this.
Yes. Yeah.
We even grow the peanuts that we put in the containers that we give away at Christmas.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. Give me the background of Hydro and what happened there.
Well, Hydro, small town. I think there's probably 500 people on a great day that live there, and probably more if you get the surrounding community. But I actually lived in Hydro when I was going to pharmacy school, and it was the only community that I had a charge account at the grocery store and the gas station. You get to go in, put on my charge account. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, except for when I had to pay the charge account. But I learned early on that Kent and Julie have a heart to just love people and care for people, and they didn't like to see things go under, especially in the town that they were living in. And they have such a nostalgia for the place. They want to take care of everyone. Even the pharmacy, the old cabinets and everything that they had, they took them out, put them in their basement. They still have them there. All the ice cream, different malt and float.
Dr. Pepper machine that still works.
Still works.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they just have this drive, I guess, to take care of the community. And I remember I was working early on, this 2007, 8 or somewhere in there, and Kent said, I bought the grocery store. It's like, well, what in the world? Like, you own pharmacies.
Maybe his credit was he had so much to pay, they just decided to buy it.
I don't know. I was like, well, okay. And I remember having all these unique opportunities you don't think about. With pharmacy, you just think of drugs and all that. But I remember I was walking by one day and they were saying, well, I don't know how to set up a credit card system and a POS system at a grocery store. And I just said, well, heck, I'll give it a try, whatever. and ended up doing that for like in the evenings for night after college and scanning in all the items, and just things like that are what make Hydro unique. And I think that's why Kent, with that kind of small town feel, that's why we've grown the way that we have, is we put people first. I mean, that's how we've always been. You've worked with us too. Like we really legitimately care for people, and that is the DNA of Hydro, I would say. I mean, I can go back today to Hydro, Oklahoma. I can walk into that grocery store, and there's still people working in there from when I was there.
Wow.
And they will say, Scott, how have you been? Give me a hug. And that to me is just like, I understand why they want to do that for that town, because that makes that kind of live on, so to speak. So yeah, that's Hydro for you.
I mean, it feels like a throwback way back to company towns when the industry was the company in the town. It's just really a cool story.
I mean, I remember even going to church and getting out of church, and they would open up the diner so that we could all eat as poor college students. So it is a throwback, and it's such a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of other bigger places now. So.
Absolutely. So Garrett, talk about that. Talk about what's changed with consulting, with what you were doing to what you're doing now, in those early days to now.
When I first started consulting, I worked for Herb Langston.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I'm involved with ASCAP is I was sitting in the office one day, and he came in and he said, "You need to join ASCAP today." And I didn't.
I got to start trying.
Yeah,
just start. You're going to do this.
And I didn't know what ASCAP was or anything, but I looked it up, and he came and gave me the paperwork and said, "You need to join today." And that's been 30 or 35 years ago. But from that point, we were doing it with a big chief tablet and a number 2 pencil. We were going in and writing her down, and we'd give it to the nurses, and then we got the printouts, and we thought we were big time then. And it just had a printout of everybody's name, and you go through these ream of paper, and you'd write your comments, you'd send it in, then they'd send it back, and we thought we were just really uptown. And then Kent came up and got a program that actually we could print on and make comments. And I remember when he first brought it out, the surveyors said, well, you're still going to have to look at every chart because you just can't look at Kent's program and do any consulting. You still have to pull the charts. And I remember thinking, okay. Of course, it wasn't integrated with anything. It was just, printing out comments. And then as it kind of evolved, we would go in and we'd stick a card in facilities computer, download their information, download it on our computer, and then we have pretty current information. But it's kind of evolved now that we're, we download it. Scott's got it where we download it on the cloud, and it's accurate information, and it's everything that's from the MDS on.
Yeah.
And it makes consulting a lot easier and a lot more accurate.
It's kind of interesting because when you think about that in particular, and you look at the state of pharmacy in general across the country, and you deal with all the PBM issues and the problems that pharmacy has with that aspect of healthcare, it's like long-term care was doing that on its own from the beginning, like a little bit ahead of retail and community pharmacy, in the sense that we were trying to manage medications before the PBM came in and said, oh, I can do a better job at that, and brought what predominantly ends up being a cost focus to something that was really a patient focus. Right. And we're trying to make the right decisions for people when we do this work. And we've been able to continue to do that, and I think that really is important for pharmacy, that this little niche environment of dealing with people in nursing homes and even assisted living, where we have pharmacists really focused on what's best for you. What would I do for my mom or dad? And that's what I'm going to do for you. That's huge. And it all started in those early, print out paper, pencil. Like I remember using triplicate forms to write recommendations, but it all started there.
You were real advanced.
Must have been. But it really kind of all started there. It's still there.
Yeah. I remember when we first started, I was on the old program that we had that Ken had developed, and we had some consultants that had kind of rigged their car to print out the reports from their trunk. Remember, Darla had that trunk that short circuited her car, but she'd get those printed out, But I remember Garrett and I were always trying to think of patients first, to your point. And we had done some rounding and gone patient to patient and caught tons of stuff. I mean, people that were afraid to tell the DON or tell the nursing staff that they had fallen and they had a fracture and we were about to put them on a ton of opioids or whatever, or somebody that had a headache and we were trying to figure out what was the cause of it. Well, he just needed glasses, those kinds of things. So to your point, that was our DNA in long-term care, I feel like, across the board before all the costs and PBMs and everything else. So, yeah.
And I think the reason a lot of us are in it and have stayed in it is because we recognize that healthcare is not going to work if we don't have people that are conscientious about taking care of older adults with high medication needs.
Yes.
We certainly see people and say, you do need to be on 12 medications. Right. But we see a lot of people where we're like, hey, maybe you don't need to be on 12 medications. Maybe if we work some things around, we can make it better for you. And there's no way that's not a part of the future of healthcare, with the number of older adults we have, the propensity of medication use, and the continued innovation in medications. So that's why I'm eternally bullish on pharmacists, particularly in older adult settings, is because this is what we do. We've done it for 55 years, and we've refined it. We're good at it, and we're getting better at it, and we're continuing to evolve.
And it seems like even, just thinking back to when we first started, it was, 9 or less meds was considered to be the standard, and it was even on the roster sample matrix that printed out in the software and for the state.
And now the roster matrix, what your survey would be.
Yeah, we would analyze that for who they would look at, but now it seems like it's gotten worse and worse. We had somebody admit the other day in one of our states that had 53 meds or something crazy like that, and so that's why we're all in this still, is that we see the benefit that we provide to the patients. We were able to get that person down, sounds like it's still a ton, but to 20, like
I
that.
mean, that's 33
33 meds.
Profile.
I mean, it's something, you know, and we're still working on that. But I think, you know, it's more than just cost. It's the patients' lives that are at stake here. And I've always told people this. I think one of the things that's such an honor for us, you know, you think of like pediatrics, and people love pediatrics and kids, but geriatrics, to me, it's such an honor to be able to, you know, take care of people at the end of their life and be a part of that care for the remaining 5, 10, 15 years that they have, and make it the best 5, 10, 15 years that you possibly can for the family and for them. And I think that's partially also why we're all in this, is because at the end of this, you know, you see an elderly person, you see all the wisdom and everything that they bring, and they'll sit down at the table with you, and sometimes it's gibberish and you have no idea what they're talking about. But a lot of times it's really just life, like that they're telling you about, and you can't help but just love those people.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. Well, I think what's interesting about this conversation is it does resonate back to that whole Hydro, Oklahoma mentality. Like, this is the way you guys have done it. Like, whether it's the employee or the person that lives in the town, or the resident of the nursing home, or the family of the resident of the nursing home, or the staff of the nursing home. It's all being, you know, I like what you said about taking care of people. You're just taking care of people.
It's we call it the farm care way. I mean, that's what we've always kind of coined it as. And some, you know, the newest people to the team always ask us, well, what does that mean? And, you know, we don't have some long statement for what that means. It just means treat people like you would want to be treated. I mean, it's that simple, and maybe go even beyond that and treat them better than you would want to be treated. But I think that's at our core. We do kind of have that Southern feel to us as a company, and no matter where we're at, that's what we're trying to instill in our people. And just, you know, you can see it. I think it's really cool when I look at, you know, we got East Coast and we got all the way over there, like even as far away as, you know, Ohio or some of our other states that we've got that, well, Ohio's a lot like Texas is, I feel like, in a lot of ways, but we got some of our other states that I would be like, okay, well, maybe the personalities won't resonate as much, and maybe that's not something that they can adopt. And then they do, and it's like, okay, we see why why you guys are this way, because when you treat somebody like that, then they want to be a part of your services. So
when we first started, Julie and I sat down and I said, you know, my focus is on the patients, and her comment to me was, it better be.
I love that. That's awesome.
And, you know, from the very beginning, it didn't matter, as long as we were trying to do something that we thought was good for the patient. The cost wasn't an issue, as long as you know, we were doing the right thing, or trying to do the right thing. And if she ever found out that you weren't doing that,
you're in trouble.
Oh man!
Does Hydro have a little jail that they put you in?
We own that too.
Julie has an office.
Right.
Yeah, when you know, you'd have to take somebody up there to talk to Julie. You know, she was real quick to make her point.
Yeah.
Well, any last thoughts? Like, where do you think pharmacy's going in long-term care? What do you look out and see?
Oh gosh, I mean, we're looking at everything at this point in time. I think I was just telling Garrett this, that, you know, we're partnering with physician groups and doing MTM and, you know, chronic care management and remote patient monitoring, and, you know, we're looking at psych services and, you know, at home and all of that. Our biggest thing right now is, and you probably remember this from the days of consulting, was just we almost would go from A to Z on a list consulting people, and that always kind of bothered me, because I was like, every other setting you're in, it's like you go in the ER, you prioritize the care based on how those people are doing. So we've developed tools now and leverage our software and other ways to be able to prioritize patients before we ever start our consulting. So now our teams are finding the sickest people, addressing them first, which then provides time to go in and talk to the patients or talk to the staff more, or audit more, or things like that. So you know, it's ever changing, and we're just trying to keep up and find, you know, where we can help patients, where we can obviously bring some more revenue in, because the pharmacy is not in the best of spots ever. But yeah, we're dabbling in a little bit of everything right now, and from pharmacogenomics to all the MTM that you can think of for the clinical side, and then ops side is obviously cost containment and just helping them, find the best drugs for the best patients. And so I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think I've been doing this a long time, and I can remember thinking when we were able to give vaccines, boy, that's a good thing we've done that. And now, it's pretty routine. We give vaccines every day somewhere. And we have clinics. We do that sort of thing. And I would like to see pharmacists have a little bit more, maybe some benefits that we could use, like with scripts, with formularies and things like that to manage the patient so that we don't have to involve the physician all the time with it. Just make
A little more autonomy for
Yes.
us. I think it's coming. I mean, I don't know when this episode will air, but I really think test, treat, vaccinate legislation is going to go through this year, and it will provide the very first statement in the Social Security Act that says pharmacists can furnish services to Medicare beneficiaries. Now, it'll start with testing, treating, and vaccinating, but the foot's in the door.
Right.
And then what can we open with that? Particularly in areas where we have so much experience working with medication management, like long-term care settings. So, it's sort of like the, getting the door cracked and then like pushing it forward. And the reality, and Scott, you mentioned it, is we're not going to think of people where they lay their head down anymore.
Right.
We're going to think of how sophisticated are they? What are their needs? And those needs are going to require pharmacists and advanced pharmacy services, whether they live at home or they live in a nursing facility. So I think that's coming. May not ever come as fast as we would like it to, but I think it has to come because we have too many people.
Right.
And we're going to have very advanced people in nursing homes with lots of comorbidities, lots of psych issues, and there's going to have to be space for them. But it's going to push a lot of people that may not be quite as sophisticated, but sophisticated enough to need more than what they can get in a home setting today.
Yeah.
So I think it's all coming, and you guys have been there for it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep innovating. So we appreciate you being here and being host of the South Central meeting,
Of course.
and for being legends in the ASCP world. So we appreciate that. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. We'll see you next time on Our Experience.